Good evening and welcome to Between the Lanes episode number 57. I'm Ron.
I'm Shane.
And I'm Brian.
Tonight we have Brian Meharry on as a special guest. And, hey, we're just going to let her rip and see where we wind up at the end of the day and go from there. So, as usual, we'll start off with, go find us on YouTube. The channel is Slot Racer. Between the Lanes is the show. We've got, now we got 57 episodes up and some how-to videos on there and other special videos as well. Find us on Facebook. Between the Lanes is the Facebook page. And race results for last weekend, September 9th and 10th, or 8th and 9th. I don't remember which. Anyway, last weekend. First weekend of September. Reports.
7th and 8th.
Yeah, there you go. The Mid-South Slot Car Race Association got underway at Archdale Speedway. And in the 4-inch stock car class, Walker McNulty was your winner. Guy Spalding was second, and Bobby Beachman was third. In GTP, Guy Spalding was your winner with Walker second, and our own Shane Parent in third. In the scale 4.5-inch class, it was Walker winning again. Winning again. That was his second win. Shane was second, and Guy Spalding was third. And in Dirt Late Model, Walker McNulty pulled off the trifecta by winning Dirt Late Model with Carl Big Money in second and Timmy Bottoms in third. The Ohio Retro Series, I don't have any podium pictures, but the ORS Series got started off this weekend at Tom Thumb Hobbies, Columbus, Ohio. In the Can-Am class, it was Jason Dennis winning, Jason Eichelbarger second, Greg Fox third. In the Formula One class, Jason Dennis was the winner again, Greg Fox second, Kyle Snyder in third. And Angleweiner, Jason Dennis pulled off the sweep by winning that, with Kyle Snyder in second and Jason Eichelbarger in third. The Penn Jersey NASCAR Series was at the Race Place in New Jersey. And in the truck class, Matt Bruce was the winner, Jerry Herbert Jr. was second, and Joe M. was third. In the Cup class, Jerry Herbert Jr. was the winner, Matt Bruce second, and Jerry Herbert Sr. was third. At before we start this, but at Buena Park Raceway, the SCRRA ran. They ran Can-Am with Brian Warmack, the winner, Dale Yamashita second, Mill Conroy third. And in F1, it was Dale Yamashita, the winner, Mill Conroy second, Brian Warmack third. Hey, we got music on the show.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. So the Legends Memorial 2 was held at Chicagoland Raceway, and we ran Super Stock and NASCAR on the Fiedler Flat Track, and then we ran Can-Am and GTP on the King Track. And in the stock car class, we had 16 entries, and the winner was J.P. Milcherska. I was second, and Brian was a fine third. In the super stock class, there was 18 entries. Brian Meharry was your winner, followed by JP and Jim Kreider. Can-Am on the King Track, we had 18 entries again. And I was the winner. John Miller was second. JP Milcherska was third. Brian, where'd you finish?
I actually didn't run GTP. By that point in the day.
No, this is Can-Am.
That's Can-Am. I was in fourth. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then at GTP on the King Track, I was the winner again with JP in second and Dale Leip in third. And I was the overall winner for the second year in a row. That's Brian congratulating me with the trophy. And we also gave some money away. So, did you not give money to two different groups?
No, I did. There should be, if you go back on the Mid-American Hardbody page, I posted both of them.
Well, no, I got both. So there was lovetotherescue.org,
That's Shriners Children's Hospital, and then the other group is the Humane Society.
Okay.
Second donation.
So this was the Shriners,
Mm-hmm.
$325.
Yep.
And then we gave $325 to the Humane Society of the United States.
I think it was $335 to Shriners. That was what was raised. It doesn't matter, but that was what was raised just off the raffle ticket sales. And then the ones that went to Humane Society, Mike gave me the money, and that was that was from all $5 from each race entry. So
Right.
that's where that money came from.
Right. So thanks to all the racers that bought raffle tickets, and there was some really cool stuff given away. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And that's your winner chicken dinner reports.
Sunday, Sunday, Sunday.
Man, right on cue. Okay, so this Sunday, September 15th and 16th, the Ohio Challenge Cup Series kicks off their series at Fast Tracks Raceway. We've got the Sunset in 240 Enduro at Chicagoland Raceway. We've got the Penn Ohio Retro Series kicking off their series at Mark's Model World in Canton, Ohio. We've got the Southern Retro Rumble down at Fast Eddie's Raceway in Pinellas Park, Florida. We've got the Phoenix 500 out at Buena Park Raceway for Group F type wing cars. And another race that's also this weekend is USCA, is at Bloomington. That restarts their second half of the current 2018 series. The 22nd of September, we've got the Flexi Fiesta at Mid-America Raceway, Naperville. September 29th, we have the Retro Summit, which also is the kickoff race for the BRS Buckeye Retro Series. And the NERR kicks off their series also September 29th. And going also this weekend, I missed it in my notes here, but Retro East is at Speed Zone, Mount Holly, New Jersey. And as we talked last week on the show, the signups are still open for the 2018 Flexi Flats, which will be held in the new location for the Slot Car Track Concord, November 16th and 18th, 2018. And on the move, next week I'll have some more stuff on the move, but I guess the big news this week was Richard Kernut, longtime SoCal racer, wing car racer. A few weeks back he announced he was going to open a raceway in somewhere in Orange County, California, and he purchased Frank Sarkella's flat track that they just held the Nats on, and it's moved down there. And Richard said he was going to get a new King track. Richard's actually purchasing the G22, which is a clone of G21, which is in White House, Tennessee. G22 currently resides in Breezewood, Pennsylvania. Since it was originally delivered, it's more or less just been a club track, nothing open to the public or anything like that. So Richard has acquired this track, and it will be heading to sunny Southern California very soon. And last week's show, I referred to Ryan's chassis as the Nickelback.
Yeah.
It's actually the Silverback. So apologies to Brian, but it is the Silverback. That's going to go to Shane. So that's all, folks. Somewhere here we lost Brian.
Yeah.
So I didn't even see him fade out, but he'll be back, and we'll go from there.
Got it.
So
The show must go on.
The show must go on. So tell us about the Mid-South race that you were at.
It was pretty fun. They obviously rebraided the track, did some track maintenance. From prior races there, it felt like you could run the donut a lot harder.
Okay.
Track power was up. I think they used to run right at 13 volts, if that. The track power now was at 14, so it had more track power. And all in all, it was a pretty good weekend. I only ran 2 classes. I ran 4.5-inch scale and GTP. Bobby ran all 4. So, I mean, all in all, it was a good time. Saturday's entry fee also and track time fee included free lunch, so we had hot dogs. And I didn't have to bring my own buns.
This is very good. So yeah, Brian said that his computer decided to shut down and update. I said, well, come back when you can. He said, carry on. So we're carrying on.
Got it. Me and you.
Me and you again. So hopefully he'll get back in here. So
yeah, you can shoot him a message and tell him he can use his phone.
Oh yeah. Well, he'd have to download it to his phone, and
Right.
how long that would take.
That shouldn't take long. It didn't take long when I did it.
I can do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know what? We will just be right. All right, so we're back. I sent Brian over some tips. Maybe he'll be back. Maybe he won't. We'll find out. So, okay, so you just told us about your experience this weekend. So I went to the Legends Memorial 2 race. And, originally I wasn't really going to go to that race this year. And then
Nick, I remember we talked about.
Yeah. So then they kind of added Randy to it, Randy Marshall, and I felt I needed to go and represent Randy. And my original plan was I would just go race Can-Am GTP. Wouldn't worry so much about the overall trophy thing. And so as time went on, then I talked to JP Melchurska, and he's kind of like, what are you going to do? And I said, well, I'm going to run the king track. I'm not going to run the flat track.
Right.
Maybe I'll run 4.5, He said, well, I'm on a hard body car if you want to run. I said, okay. So I said, then I'll, have Can-Am and GTP car for you on the king track. So, that way, I guess if I don't do well, maybe you'll do well. Maybe you can take the trophy back to Indiana or whatever. So,
right.
So anyway, I get there on Friday, and I hadn't run on that track since 2007, and I'm gonna say something but I'm gonna clarify it. I ran that track in 2007, and I really didn't like the track. Okay, but that was the first time that I had run on the track, and that was that was the first retro race me and Randy went to. So their stuff wasn't that good per se. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
I did okay on the king track, and I did fairly decent on the road course the first time. I mean, I think I finished second overall in the points that year, and finished third or fourth, I think, in the final race, and third or fourth maybe in the Can-Am race on it. But so hey, here he comes, Brian's. Da, 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 da.
Got
All
him.
right.
All right, I'm back now. Sorry.
All right. So we paused and waited a while, and then we just came back, and I started telling about my behind the scenes deal in a Legends race. So I'm gonna finish that up real quick, and we'll get more into this.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So like I was saying, I hadn't run on the track since 2007, first time I was back. And another thing of me racing for the overall was going to be how much time I could get on the track on Friday. I didn't know when I was going to get there, and Terry Watson was going to go, and I didn't know when we were going to leave. And, it was one of those deals. If we got there early enough, I would make a, concerted effort to do my best and try to, run on that track. And Terry couldn't go at the last minute. So I wound up leaving a little early and got up there to get some laps on it. And I felt pretty comfortable right away. But again, my not that we raced 4.5-inch cars on that track in 2007,
Right.
but my 4.5-inch cars were fairly good. So I got around the track good because my car was good. You know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
Whereas the first year, our cars weren't so good, so I really didn't like the track. So I think if I ever went back and raced retro on that track, I'd probably like it because I know that my retro cars are way better now than they were way back then. So, don't know what point I'm trying to make here, but so
Just like any track, you just need time
You're
on it.
sounding good. Keep going with it. I like it.
so 4.5. I had like 4 cars. They were champion cars. 3 of them had aluminum pans because that's the way I've been running them the last few times. I mean, I don't run 4.5 that often, So, but before I left, I put a metal pan on one car, and of course that car was better because it weighed more. And I took what I thought was the second best car or the best car of the 3 with aluminum pans, put a metal pan on it. And at first I didn't really like it. And I had an aluminum pan car that was going around pretty decent. And then it just came down to the 2 metal pan cars, So Saturday morning, I'm running the 2 cars, and I can't really decide which car I want to run, because they were just that close. So I finally said, I'm going to run this car. It was a car that worked the best right out of the box. I'm just going to go with it. I put the other car in the box. So in the meantime, JP had given me 2 hard body cars to play with, and I chose one of those cars and then cut a bunch of laps with it on Friday because that's a totally different driving vehicle between the flexi car type and the hard body. So, but I do need more laps on that track with hard bodies and with hard bodies in general, because I don't run them enough to really have it all figured out yet. But so Saturday morning we're teching the 4.5-inch cars, and I think I teched my car, and Brian was working on teching his car, and Brian came over shortly and kind of put his car in his box and said, "F it, I'm not racing." It was like, oh, what's the problem? And he's like, well, my body was 10 thousandths too high in the rear, so I put my tires down trying to make that clear, but now my tires are too small.
Well, the thing is, I'm so used to teching at 050 that I cut the tires down to 050, forgetting that there was 062.
You were
so then I was like, way too low. I'm like, you know what? Screw this. I'm like, I just got too much going on, just trying to make sure the show was keeping going. So
I told Brian, I said, well, I have a car. If you want, you're welcome to use it. If you want to try it. Nah, I'm not going to race. No, I'm not going to race. Okay, fine. Your choice. Come on, Brian, race. No, I'm not going to race. So what was it, like 3 minutes later? Hey, Ron, where's that car?
Yeah. I was like, yeah, let me just run it,
So
I ran around the King. I was like, it's probably a little too bitey for the flat track, but it'll work,
So I give him the car, and I kind of look over, see how he's getting around with it. No one's on the flat track, and I look over, and he's running the King track. I go, "You gonna run it?" He goes, "Yeah."
Yeah. Flat track was off, so I couldn't get on there,
Right. So we line up for the race, and I'm on black, Brian's on purple, and there's our cars identical paint jobs, and Brian's like, "Is this gonna mess you up?" I said, "I think it'll mess me up." Gonna mess you up? Nah. So we start the race, and me and Brian and JP ran on the same lap for the first 3 heats, and I knew that I was in third. It was all about track position. So Brian JP's ahead on the track, and I'm back there in third. And after the third heat, it says I'm in the lead. And, Mike announced that I was leading by 1. And I'm like, no, I just crossed the counter. But I am in the lead. I don't know how I got in the lead, but because I don't remember, passing Brian. I don't remember passing JP. But
things happen so fast. I think we both ran into trouble right about the same time. So.
Right. And I might have been on the left side of the track, and you guys were on the right side of the track. I mean, it's kind of hard to watch both ends of the track. So JP went in the lead, and the 4th heat, Brian ran in. You had some body issue, didn't you?
Yeah, I got, guys used to marshalling hard bodies. They just take those cars and just slam them down. It's normal. But I was hanging on the edge anyway because you had, real heavier springs on that car, and I think the tires were a little softer than they needed to be. So I just had like a ton of brakes. But whatever, for a loaner, I was happy with what I did. The car was good.
Yeah. So anyway, I had the same problem, just way too much brakes. I mean, we both had our brakes all the way off and still had no coast. And so JP got away by a couple of laps by the end of the race. I was happy with that. To me, a second place was a win for me. Brian wound up coming back and getting third. And and we started super stock hard body tech, and we ran a B main and an A main, and the A main, Brian won. Brian and JP had a hell of a race the first 4 heats, same lap, door handle to door handle, and then you kind of snuck away in the fifth to the last heat and wound up winning by 2, and me and Jim Kreider were 2 behind JP. We were battling out to the end, and Jim got me by 6 inches. And Neil Eisler would have definitely been in there, third hole. Or, he'd have been. He was going to be on the same lap as me and Jim, but then he caught a rider or something, and
he found some trouble.
Came off, and it backed him up a lap or 2. So
Any flat tracks, man, it's hard to make up laps. If you got 2 laps, it's like, all right, that's not enough, but just hang in there. That's
right.
On a king track, if you got the power and your car's right, you're going to be able to sail around. But
right. So
flat
then
tracks are exciting because you don't know what's going to happen.
Right. So, I ran like a 6:03.89 lap. And Brian clipped me. He ran like 6:03.84. So
I actually did that on purpose just to fuck with you, just to get in your head.
It was all good.
I had to do it,
I think I got in your head because I ran it first, because I think JP had the fastest lap at 6:14. I'm not trying to run the fastest lap. I'm just out there running and.
Well, that was on purple, right? You probably did that on purple.
I ran it on, I think yellow.
Yeah, well, maybe, yeah.
Purple or yellow.
Purple was the hot lane, I think, that day, though.
Right. So, and then after the race, Rick Stagan, because I remember I was like on green. I was on orange, and he was on green or something. And I'm out there going, no, I was on green. He was on orange. And I thought I was going a pretty good lick. And, man, he just comes from nowhere, and he's like, shoom, just blows by me. And I'm like, wow. And, Rick's got a lot of laps on here, and I'm thinking, man, I do really get around this track bad. So after the race, he was like, why don't you run my car a couple laps? I'm like, okay. So I put it on purple, I guess. The third lap, I go like 593. I'm like, how good is your car?
That car's pretty good, yeah.
Wow. So, and I'm thinking, okay.
He built some really good cars.
So I'm thinking, if I gave this car to Brian or JP or Neil and said, run, like, how much faster would they have went with it? Because you guys get around the track so much better. So it was.
I think the track was a little slicker because I was hot lapping in the 5.9s, 5.8s. I think the track got a little slicker as the race went on. Yeah. I put on my newer hard tires and that was too hard. So I was kind of taking it easy a little bit, because I knew I wasn't going to have the bite if I really hammered on it.
Well, on Friday, I thought the track was pretty good, and Saturday I thought the track was still good for 4.5. But after the 4.5 race, I felt the track loosened up a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. It still had some bite, but just a little in some spots.
Because when it was all said and done, I wish I probably would have had a little bit softer tire for the hard body car, but because I wasn't familiar with that in the track, I couldn't make that call before the race. So I just went with what I had and did my best to stay on and make laps. So
that's all you could do.
So then we switched over to the King track and Can-Am. I TQ'd, and I don't know. It was okay race in the early going, and I just kind of pulled away from everybody, and kind of the same thing in GTP. So the most exciting races were definitely on the flat track, close and everything. So
yeah, they're nail biters on the flat track. So
yeah,
that's typically any flat track. Yeah,
right.
But, the King track, I don't know if it's because they're racing so many wing cars, but the King track feels good. At Mike's place. I don't know if it's just that they just got so much rubber built up on it. The King track feels real nice.
Well, when I ran up there, I went to a fun race, John Austin fun race in second week of July. The track was more sticky. You know what I'm saying? I thought the track was a little looser this time, but And I didn't run the same type car, so I can't really say. Yeah, I definitely kind of went faster with my Can-Am car this weekend than I did in July, just playing with it and testing, but I really wasn't pushing it hard either. So, I don't know. To me, the only thing a King Track really needed was the braid cleaned.
Yeah.
And it would have been a little faster, but then we would have been crashing more. So,
Probably.
yeah.
You got to realize, they do race GTP on Wednesday nights. I think it's with different different rules.
Yeah.
But most of the guys that raced, we don't typically race those cars that frequently.
Right.
We kind of starting to race GTP at Mid-America on Thursdays. I know Mike's got a version of GTP and
right.
some version of Group F wing cars that they're racing. But most of us don't race those cars. I've been running the same Bardos car for like 4 years,
right.
Race it on anything.
Well, yeah, and that was one of the things too. Like when I checked the Can-Am cars, I checked the weight, and
Right.
me, John, and JP was all like at 101 grams. I think the second lightest car was 107.
Sure.
And then I think your car's like 112.
I don't even put it on a scale.
Yeah,
Whatever.
I mean,
Great, whatever,
Right. And then there was like Andy Fisher who was like 126 grams. I mean, it's
sure.
Sure. But everybody had fun.
Oh yeah. Well, we did what we needed to do. We raised the money we needed to do it. It's nice to have the guys get together. And like we were kind of talking earlier, I thought that just because we raised more money, I thought that there was more guys, but we were lighter this year for whatever reason. I don't really know why, but
No.
Either way, we raised more money than we did last year. So,
Yeah, it was good. And thank you, Brian, for putting the race on and honoring those 6 guys, Randy and Dave and Jimmy and Manta Ray and Dave and Bob, so.
Yeah. Well, it's something that needs to be done, I think, because most of us are, when we're racing, we're all in a highly competitive environment. A lot of us are friends, but a lot of us, when we get in the same room, we're out for blood out on the track. And I think that event, I want to kind of just put all that to the side. It's a little bit less of us promoting ourselves and all this stuff and, just raise money for the cause.
Yep.
So
thank you.
I'd like to do more of it in the future if I could. So.
Right. So thanks for everything you did. I mean, I know how it is to run a program all day, and it kind of takes a toll on you mentally and physically, performance-wise sometimes. So.
Yeah, well, that's one thing. I was just tired anyway from the week, but just making sure everything's going good, and I got my wife and kid there. Not that they're a burden, but
right.
I'm paying attention to them and everything else, and just making sure we're all having a good time. So, even the regular series races, we usually don't start till like late in the afternoon. But Friday night I rolled in late from work, all pissed off, and woke up pissed off. They're calling me to go to work on Saturday morning when I'm, doing this thing. So I'm already been out of shape before I even get to Chicagoland, and I try to put it all to the side, but, and then you got guys that want to start talking about, rules for the season. And it's like, today's not the day, man. You kind of, let's put that off to the side for today, So.
Did you feel like a politician with all these people lobbying, all these lobbyists for the rules?
Yeah, well, I always do. Well, and that's why we're kind of, the Mid-American Hard Body Series, kind of changing the way we're doing things a little bit. Because last year, and I don't know if it's because we're multiple states, so there's just more groups of guys, we've just gotten to a point where I get so many messages all the time that it's just way overwhelming. And any move I make is a dick move. Like even if I try to do something, like last year I was like, I really want to start like a novice class. I'm going to do this hobby stock thing. And I put it together, tested cars, tested things with Miller, messaging back and forth, spec gear, more of a beginner class, super easy to drive. Right away I announced it, and immediately it's like, you're a dick, you're going to ruin this whole thing, blah, blah, blah. And now it's like a successful thing, and the guys enjoy the cars, so it's just
right.
So now I'm trying to we're going to be a little bit more membership based, and I want the guys to write proposals, and we're just going to post it online and vote it yes or no. We can discuss it beforehand amongst ourselves. Actually, the next year I'm probably going to post everything. and there could be discussion. And then once we get into the second week of October, I'm just going to post it all online. Right now, we're not membership-based, but if you at least participated in half the series last year, you have participation, you're going to be allowed to vote on how we go about moving forward on the proposals that various guys wrote.
Right.
So, and still, I post stuff online and I get the messages like, well, that's kind of a stupid idea. I said, let's just let it ride. I don't think any ideas are really stupid.
Right.
We got to figure it out, And I don't want guys to think that I'm all knowing this and that at all. I'm just trying to create a fun environment,
Right.
I am getting a little bit of money from the business now, but for me, it's kind of the only bit of fun I get. I kind of gave up the strippers and the booze and the drugs a long time ago. So, this is supposed to be fun.
Right.
And I want guys to realize I'm not trying to be a dick. It's just sometimes I have, 100 messages that I've been trying to process in a month, and I get to the race and guys are still kind of pounding me. And then, last season I made a mistake. I had one guy who was always kind of wanting to walk around the rules. He asked me something off the cuff. And, a week later, some other guys were complaining because I said, yeah, you could do it, but really it was against the rules. So I got online, retracted my comment, and I said, hey, what, guys, rules are the rules, blah, blah, blah. Let's stick to the rules, especially since we're going into a big event.
Right.
And not 5 minutes later, I'm a piece of shiznit, online, where everybody can see. And I'm just like, my response is just like, man, the rules are the rules, dude,
Right.
And it turned into F you, this and that. And I'm like, well, go ahead, sell all your stuff. I probably just don't need you anyway.
They'll be back.
Well, the
They
strippers
always come back.
and alcohol is fun, but it's a different kind of fun. So
yeah, well, and that's that fun wears out eventually too. So
sure.
But whatever.
But so what? I know you've posted your dates.
Mm-hmm.
I guess other than some rule changes that are coming up, what's different between this year's series and last year's series?
Well, the Mid-American Hardbody Series, we usually just have 6 race dates, but because we did the Enduro thing in the summer, the Nats is going to count this October 6th Mid-American Hardbody Nats. That's going to count for the winner points. I'm going to go ahead and make sure we do the one drop again because I know the guys can't make every race.
So the Nats will be the first race of the new series.
Correct, which usually the November race would have been the first, and then we always end with the championship. So this series, we actually have our Nats at the front, and then our annual Super Stock 1000 championship at the end in April. So we'll have an April at the front and the backside.
Okay.
One thing, we've been messing with some American arm motors and that's a proposal that one of the guys wrote up. We've been messing with it locally, so we'll see how that goes. We'll see how the proposals go. It's up to the membership. Locally, all the guys in Chicago, I've got the separate thing, the local thing between Mid-America and Chicagoland that I do once, the Crosstown Challenge, I call it.
Right.
We're going to allow that Pro Slot Detroit motor in. Just because I bought 16 in the summer and made them a handout motor, let guys try them, and everybody's like, oh, you know what, I'd like to do this as an option. It's a real smooth motor. And I said, well, yeah, it's an American arm.
Right.
Big heavy coil. It runs cool, bigger com. It's just a better quality motor. So,
yep. And there was a lot of the Scorpions used on the King and in the Can-Am and GTP races.
Sure, that's 5 turns less than
right. But I didn't see any huge difference between
no
FK and a Scorpion. And any way you slice it, we had no motor failures all day on either track. So that was a good.
What'd you run? Did you run an FK or?
I ran Scorpions. I actually had an FK GTP car that was as fast, maybe just a thousandth or two quicker than the Scorpion. But the motors run kind of warm on the King track there. So I went for reliability versus speed.
Right.
And in both Can-Am and in GTP. Because when I got there, I had Scorpions in my 3 Can-Am cars, and I did. And you know what? I did have one car that had an FK in it, and it was pretty sporty, but it was an 8-rail chassis, and it was a little too bitey. So I wasn't going to run that car anyway. But that motor was pretty sport. It would, if I had to put that motor in the car I ran, I probably would have been as fast as I was. So, but then would have lived.
There's that much difference between the motors, really.
Yeah. To me,
The only place I've ever ran the Scorpions was the Flexipalooza. I haven't ran them anywhere else.
right. So, and I've run a Scorpion a lot the last 3 or 4 races I've been in, just because I went for reliability. Because we run king tracks with semi-hot power. Like at Mid-America, when I ran the fun race there the first week of July, and then we went back for the rock race. I went for American reliability because in the past, at the last 2 rock races, I had motor issues. I mean, like one motor issue was a screw went up in the motor and locked the motor up and popped a comm. That would have happened on American deal, but second time, or maybe it was a time before that, it threw a wire. So
too much soy sauce?
Maybe not enough. So on the king tracks, I'm leaning towards reliability.
Right.
Now,
we talked about that before. As far as
now, when I go run some of the shorter, like some of the hill climbs and maybe at fast tracks, stuff like that, I'll probably still run FKs. If they're as good as the other stuff. So because the power's not the issue there. Some of those tracks.
Right.
So
I'll start playing with those coming up soon to start practicing and testing for the Flexi Flats.
And yes, that's another thing too. I mean, the Asian blank arm is to me more torquey and has more brakes, or versus the American blank, like Brian's found out, it's much smoother. Maybe a little less brake, but those motors have so much brakes to begin with, you can back them down. You know what I mean? So I'd really have too much.
It's the material they're making the arms out of?
Oh, yeah. It's definitely, it's a combination of lamination material, the winding, I don't know how they wind them in China. They say they're CNC wound, but they're not. You can look at them and tell.
Yeah,
they're fairly inconsistent.
Yeah. And you got the bigger comm.
Yeah.
So, because that was one thing I always wanted to do years ago was put the Chinese small diameter comm on an American blank armature, because it should have run faster with a smaller comm, but wouldn't have been legal. But I still wanted to make some try it. You know what I mean? To prove the theory.
Right.
But I never did it. So you got 3 or 4 major factors going on there in the difference in the armature. So.
Right.
You just get a whole different torque curve or whatever.
Well, it's like I tell guys, if you got $15 motors, I think the FK is a great motor. I picked it for a reason, for what we do. In the hard bodies, I mean, we're pushing 175 to 200 gram cars. That was the only one out of the $15 motors that offered the kind of power we were looking for. And you're not going to go through a ton of them. They tend to hold up a little better. But
well, we tried a FK motor this week. I brought one that Bobby tried in his scale car on the track. And I mean, with a built motor, we were running 2 4s, 2 5s. And with the FK motor, we were running 2 5s, 2 6s. And Bobby was like, it's competitive.
Right. That's a good bang for the buck.
Yeah. I stuck my finger up on the motor and I was like, whoo, that's a little toasty.
So kind of like, when you first started running the FK motors in the hard bodies, they would have the dreaded push start problem. And so I guess my technical question is, because to me, that problem kind of disappeared on its own, in my opinion.
I think a lot of us, I think ever since John kind of took over, I think he goes through the motors a lot more. I think John's quality control, he's on top of it. But I think a lot of us now have gone ahead and we just take the brushes out of the hoods and we just knock the tips off.
Okay.
In the hard bodies, it did make a big difference. I think in a lot of other cars, it didn't make as much difference. But that big, heavy cog, and you're just trying to get a big, heavy car going, we had push start issues. And I think all of it, like I'm still running the stock brushes. I don't change my brushes to anything else. I just take them out, knock the tips off the brushes, and I'm good to go.
Okay.
Occasionally I got a push start problem, but it's not.
Yeah, because
nothing.
I don't think anybody had a push start this weekend. So,
No,
but
no.
you think most of the guys are cutting their brushes back?
I think most of, yeah. I think, I would have to guess that most of them are, I haven't seen anybody pop one in a long time, but,
Right.
But, like the argument, guys are, because we've been running these $15 motors, and I've had some guys approach me, and I said, like, hey, what are you doing, you dick? You're going to make us buy these American arm motors. And I said, I'm really not trying to force this on anybody. I'm just trying to make a better experience. And I turned to a guy, a racer that I don't want to drop any names, but he's a pretty solid B main racer, and sometimes he's an A main racer. And I turned to him and I said, okay, so how many in a 6-month season, how many FKs do you think you buy? He's like, 12 or 14. And I'm like, okay, do the math on that, times $15. If I told you that you could have 2 motors or 3 motors and you're good for the season and you could send them back to the factory for a rebuild, and that's it, you're good. You're going to get a brand new motor when it comes back. He's like, oh, yeah, I never really thought about it like that,
So are you going to let the guys rebuild the Detroit motors?
I've talked to I want to keep it. If we do it, it's going to be a sealed thing.
Right.
And I want it to just be a factory rebuild.
That's fine.
I want to avoid any controversy and stuff like that. And I think Miller comes out. He's out there pulling the trigger with us.
Right.
And he's a trustworthy guy. There's all this mojo. There's always going to be like, oh, this guy's a dick. This guy's cheating. This guy's sprinkling fairy dust on my controller. There's always going to be that.
Right.
But I just want to try, and it may get totally shot down for the series, but in Chicago, we're going to continue to mess with it.
Sure.
And it'd be nice to see it get into at least the one class, just so that, we have a little bit more differentiation between like super stock and pony stock, and something that feels a little bit more like a pro level car, just because it's and drivable and everything else.
Okay. So correct me if I'm wrong. I heard some over talking that for the Enduro series, they're going to let them rebuild their own motors for the 240 Sunset deal. Maybe you didn't hear it.
You know what? I have not. I've talked to, because it's pretty much Gary, Dale, and Ricky working on that gig together, and there's not as much information online. I mean, they're doing their thing. They got their page going. Sure. Great Lakes Isra kind of is like not a thing anymore, so that kind of sucks. So they're kind of trying to figure out some new things, and I'm not quite sure what they're doing with that Enduro. But I think with what they're doing, I mean, if the seals come off, though, there's really not that much you can do to those.
No.
If the seals come off, I don't think it's a big deal for those guys, for what they're doing.
Right.
At that level of racing. I mean, you're basically racing an Israel level car.
Right.
I don't think it's a big deal. So.
Yeah, I mean, if you think there's a question of the motor, you just pop it apart and check it. I mean, if the seal's gone, I mean, it's that.
Right. Yeah, and all those guys that are racing that, they all know motors, so they all know what they're looking at. I don't think there's going to be any funny business going on with those guys. So, and actually, our B&E Crosstown, the thing I'm doing between Chicagoland and Mid-America, we're going to be on the same dates, but we're going to be racing at night.
Gotcha.
For the Midwest Flat Track Series. That is what they're called, right? Midwest Flat Track Series.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to get back into that racing. I already pulled out my GT12 cars and, kind of dusting those off. And I want to build that Enduro car. It just kind of sucks because they made that like the first race of the day. I mean, whatever. It's not my series, but that would be the car I would show up and race, afternoon before my series. That would be the car that would be easier for me to convince my guys to run.
Right.
Just cost and everything. And it's just so easy. It's kind of a no-brainer drive. I always think when I do these, I always think I'm going to show up early and race both things. But what's happened to me is Saturday, I'm like busy packing orders, for the track that I'm going to, busy packing everything. And I just don't make it until last minute. So, but I think that they're on the right track. The Midwest Flat Track Series. There's a lot of, turmoil. Everyone feels like they're stepping on each other. And you know what? There's a lot of racing out there right now. You can race Can-Am, and everybody gets all upset. Oh, you're over my date. You're over. And it
Same
happens.
thing down here.
Yeah, there's only 3 or 4 weeks in a month, and as
Yep.
long as you do your best to kind of work with your region, I mean,
Yeah.
I think last
I
year I
always
won.
tell people you got more races than you got racers. You gotta back it down.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, okay, like this. I mean, this weekend I could go to 1, 2, 3, 4. I could go to 4 races, one of 4 races within 4 hours.
right.
Right.
I mean, some are one's 3 hours, and one might be 2.5 or 3 hours, and one's 4, and the other one's probably 4. But
And those are all cars that you have in your box. That's
yeah. I mean, it would take me no time at all to go to any one of these races.
right.
If I wanted to. So, there's a ton of racing, and I mean, even if you lived in Chicago, I mean, there's
There's a lot.
two races. You
Yeah.
can go to Bloomington, or you can stay in Chicago and race the enduro thing.
Right. Yep.
I think Randy, he's going to start doing some stuff just because he's now open on Saturday so late with the flat track. So let's see
How soon's he going to have the big track back in there?
I spoke with him today. He's going to start work on the Cobra, getting it ready for the Nats.
Okay.
He has another track in storage he's going to bring in for the time being, because right now a lot of his rentals are on the oval, and he says he thinks that's kind of killing it because it's an oval.
Okay.
He's like so he has it kind of looks like an orange, but it's not really an orange. It's kind of a mix between an orange and a paperclip.
Okay.
It used to be an Anderson, so I think he's going to set that up for the time being because he doesn't want any rental cars or anything like that on the flat track.
Well, if it was the track that was at Anderson, that's a paperclip.
So, after.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I know which track you're talking about. It's not that one.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Cool.
I was like, yeah. And then I know he mentioned possibly coming up soon having some warm-up races for the Flexi Flats. So I went by there Sunday or Saturday after the Mid-South race. Me and Bobby stopped by. We turned some laps. It was fun.
Okay.
Different.
So,
I
all
was
right.
surprised at how quick I picked up on it because I was like, all right, well.
Well, Monday night they were racing on it, and I watched some video on Facebook, and they were running the NASCAR class. I mean, it's all local guys that have never really. This is the first time they've run on it, raced on it.
He had.
And they were getting around pretty good, I thought.
He had 10 to 15 guys on Sunday.
Okay.
I talked to him, and he was like, Sunday I had 10, 15 guys in here because he's been posting, hey, our next race, for the scale, our 4-inch cars are going to be on a flat track. You need practice. And some of the guys listened, and I think some of the guys that didn't wish they did.
Right.
I mean, it was a lot of fun. Then you go up the stairs, and you hang a left, and there's like a Cuban restaurant right there. And I was like, all right, full open bar. So I was like,
What kind of restaurant?
Cuban. Mm-hmm.
I thought you said Cupid at first. I was like, what?
That's what I thought he said. I'm like, wait, what's this place?
Yeah. Well, there's one of those places, I'm sure, down the road.
Wasn't just me.
Yeah.
So,
Brian freeze up on us?
well,
Yeah.
he's back. So,
Days are over for me. Yeah, my internet.
okay, so Brian, you're off on vacation, right?
Yeah, Thursday night. I usually work a bajillion hours in the summertime, and bad time of year for slot cars for me to go away. But I need to get out
So you're heading
here
west,
for a while. Yeah.
and you're gonna. I think I seen you post on Facebook. You're gonna be in Dallas.
It depends how I'm feeling at the end of the trip. We're kind of focusing more on family stuff, but I want to swing through and go see Chantal and Jay. They're good people. If I'm not too tired, we'll go hit Dallas and then backtrack back home at the end of our trip. Just sometimes it's nice to just go somewhere and play and not have to work.
Right.
I don't get to do that too often. So,
And Shane is headed inland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta get away from the coast.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or maybe if
That's
it
more
inlet,
by
he'll be
force.
floating outwards. I don't know what you want to call that, but
Yeah.
Hopefully it dissipates and it doesn't hit so hard down there.
slows down or
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking off the show. I was trying to think. I've lived here my whole life. I lived here for Hugo, and I can't tell you how many tropical storms and hurricanes I've been through since.
Right.
Because it's just, I don't know. I guess it's just kind of like how y'all are with snow. It's like, it's just another hurricane.
Yeah, I don't know. Snow's not a hurricane. We got
Yeah.
we got tornadoes and stuff, but the hurricane.
But the thing that cracks me up is you go to like Walmart and all the bread and milk's gone. And the first thing that thinks to mind, I was telling guys today, I was like, why are you buying milk? If the power goes out, the milk's
Right.
going to go sour.
well, see, we have the same problem in the Midwest. If there's a snowstorm coming, everything's gone bread and milk. Now, what the
Right.
hell do you do with bread and milk? Like,
I mean, you can take the milk and go outside and stick it in the snow.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. And it's not like, I don't know, you're not going to be snowed in here for probably any more than 2 days or 3 days max.
I think last year we had a close one, and I went and got water and all that stuff. And I think I basically just got stuff to make sandwiches, just peanut butter and jelly, because I was like, oh, you don't really need any kind of – check the grill, made sure we had gas. And where we live, we never lost power. My brother probably lives 10, 15 miles up the road. Nice, fancy gated neighborhood. He didn't have any power. So I was like, come on back to the ghetto. We got power. We'll hook you up.
So you went through Hugo.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the worst one you've been through?
Yep. That was category 4 when it hit. We stayed.
Okay.
Yep. I think they said when it made landfall, it had sustained winds of like 100, almost 150 miles an hour. And so that's what they're trying to compare this one to. And it's just like, no, personally, I think this one's going to be bigger and a little bit more beefier.
And what's your worst natural disaster, Brian?
I've been pretty close to tornadoes, but that's about it.
We had
few
we had a tornado.
wild extreme storms, but nothing nothing awful.
Yeah, I mean, I've the only thing I seen a tornado one time. I guess I got to a point where I never thought I would see one, but it was the most mesmerizing thing I've ever witnessed in my life. But them things just drop from the sky. You never know.
Yeah, they come out of nowhere.
We were going to a race, as a matter of fact. Rob Garland's, I'm driving. He's on the passenger side, and, I'm in rush hour traffic going 70, 80 mile an hour, and he's looking out the window, and he says, this cloud looks really weird. And I'd look over. Yeah, okay. And all of a sudden, he's like, hey, that's a tornado. And I kind of look over, and about that time, I seen it go up.
See it spout.
Yeah. So then he says, what are we going to do? I said, we'll get on the cell phone and call and tell him where the tornado's at, because there had been nothing on the radio or anything. So he calls 911 and he just hands me the phone. He's like, here, she wants to talk to you. I'm telling her stuff.
Driving. Yeah.
About that time on the radio, it's like, and they're so.
Yeah.
So we go to, because he's like, what are you going to do? I said, I'm flooring it. I'm heading east away from it. Like it was to the south of us, but it was coming our direction, and it was probably 2 miles off, and I'll never forget, I go down and get down the road about a mile or so, because it was a real thin silver funnel, I mean, it's on the ground. I can look over and I can see sparks flying where it's hitting.
Yeah, power lines
and stuff. And then all of a sudden it just disappears.
Right.
I get down the road 2-3 miles, and I look in the rearview mirror, and this son of a bitch is 5 times as wide. It's pure black. It's like hell have no fury.
Right.
But it was no closer. It was just so. But that thing followed us all the way over to Newark, Ohio, basically. We were about a county ahead of it, but other than that, I mean, the only thing I've ever really been in bad was a flood. Not a major.
We've had hurricanes.
River came
snow
up.
last year. snowed down here. I think I told you about that, and you were laughing at me because I was just like, we don't know what to do down here when it snows like that.
So Brian, do you remember the blizzard of '78, or were you born yet?
I was born. That was actually my first year on Earth of that storm. So
Nope.
my mother
I
tells
wasn't
me
here.
Okay.
that brought the storm on.
Well, I was 15, and I just remember getting a ton of snow. I remember it being real windy for a day and lots of snow and cold with all the wind chill. But the next day we were out trying to get out and get going. I mean, like,
Right.
a lot of people will just say, "Oh, that was doom and gloom. It was horrible. It was miserable." And it's like,
Yeah.
you were inside. I mean, I had some friends that almost died. They got stuck in a car.
Stuck in the car. Yeah.
And they almost died, but they got found, like after 4 days of being in this car covered in snow.
They're lucky.
Yeah, they were real lucky. So
This will make both of y'all laugh. We got a foot, and it shut this town down for almost a week and a half.
Oh yeah. Well, you just don't have the equipment to move it around.
No, we don't have
guys that
we
know
don't
how
have
to do it.
nothing. No,
People have no idea how to drive in the snow.
The closest salt truck we have is in Rock Hill, and that's 3.5 hours, north of me. I mean, it's basically snow, stay home.
Well, it's like occasionally I'll see, snow came down in Dallas, on the news. I'm like, well, I got to watch this video. This is going to make me.
Yeah. It's like here,
A day, So.
Yeah.
For 2 days, I'm just like,
okay.
I think I called Ron. I was like, what do you do? I was like, I played in the snow. I did the snowman thing, and there's ice. I've ate all my snacks because I'm bored.
So how does Rock Hill, which is an hour away from you?
Huh?
How far is Rock Hill? An hour?
From 3 hours or 2.5, 3. Yeah.
I was gonna say, how do they get a salt truck and Charleston doesn't? But
no, like going up towards Ohio when we go to Marks and stuff like that, we'll see like the salt sheds and stuff on the side. Yeah, like that. That's a mountain compared to our salt pile looks like a sandbox for kids. That's what it looks like.
You can imagine.
Yeah. We have one truck. You ever went to like the old racetracks and they're like, oh, we're waiting on the EMS to show up.
Yeah, it's
and it's just like, I hope no one gets hurt tonight. That's basically what our salt truck looks like.
But it's low mileage.
Yeah.
Too, we got a lot of wetlands down here, so everything ices over,
Right.
And I couldn't tell you how many times just driving, and you got the sign Bridge May Ice, and you see everyone checking up. And it's just like, I see you're trying to be safe, but, meanwhile, you're going from 70 to 30.
Yeah.
Everyone behind you is still coming,
And ice storms are the worst, so.
Yeah, I can remember. God, I got so much stuff done that week. I painted so many bodies, and we never lost power. So it was just like I worked on everything. I was like, I'll build this chassis. I'll straighten this car out. I'll paint. And like the next race, Bobby was like, I could really tell you were bored because you were like super prepared. I was like, hey, run this. Try this one.
So
yeah, we don't have that up here. If I got 3 foot snow drifts in front of the house, they're like, get to work, stupid.
Yeah.
No,
you wouldn't want to see 3 foot down here. I'd be screaming.
See, we would just get out and plow right through it. It like doesn't.
That's the thing. Yeah, I just fire up the truck, hop in, and just gas it, man. Just go.
Okay, so here's another thing that gets me about, and I'm not ripping on the South, but
no, you know me, I don't care.
I've never figured this out. Okay, like when I learned to drive, I didn't take driver's ed in the snow to learn how to drive in the snow. Like,
right?
It just comes natural up here, right, Brian? Like,
well, you grow up probably watching your parents drive in the snow, and I've seen quite a few accidents growing up.
I know, but I'm just saying. When you go down south, it's like no one can drive in the snow. They just
it's like Armageddon, man. It's
that's just like it's funny because how y'all probably look at the South driving in the snow.
Yeah.
I can always tell when it's like a northern guy driving in a storm.
Yeah.
Four-way flashers are on. They're doing 30, and it's just like, people, it's just rain. You know what I mean?
I'm
And
gonna
you're
tell you
looking
one
at me
year
like,
I was
this
out,
guy's crazy. I'm just like, you know.
one year I was out in Arizona and they get these crazy dust storms around
Yep.
months.
Yeah,
And the first time I had ever been in one, I'm driving a rental car, and I'm just cruising. There's just nothing, I can't see anything, and I'm sliding around.
Black out.
Like, awful. And people are like honking at me, just get the hell out of here. You guys are nuts. I can't see a thing. So then you see cars all parked out in the desert and flipped over and stuff. And so.
Yeah, I drove through some fires in Oklahoma one time on the turnpike. And they tell you not to. Usually, when it gets really bad, they'll close it. But it was kind of on the. It's bad, but it's not bad. But man, I hit some spots that was like,
sure,
I couldn't see nothing. I mean,
well, that's when they had all those wildfires up in Tennessee. We had all that coming down here,
right,
and stuff. It's just funny because more and more we talk, it's like, wow, I've actually been through a lot of things. It's like snow, hurricane, and you brought up fires, and I was like, we never really had fires down here, but we had all that smoke coming down here. And some mornings to get up to go to work, it's like, all right, if it's this bad down here, well, I can't breathe.
I mean, I could not see the fire. It was just smoke. I don't know how far it was coming from, but it was thick. I
guess all that's still going on in California too, isn't it? With all the wildfires they've had, or they got that contained?
I think it's contained.
I haven't heard much. Is it?
I've been watching it because I'm going to be driving that way. I wanted to make sure I wasn't going to be driving into anything crazy.
Right.
But yeah, I think for the most part it's pretty contained. But it was looking pretty dismal about a month ago.
And see, what's really cool up here is that when it's really snowing really hard to where it's just like a whiteout at night in front of you, you turn your headlights off and drive and you can see better.
Right. Yeah, actually, pretty much. I turn my headlights off and keep the lights on, but
turn them four ways on, turn them headlights off. That's another good race story.
But see, like people make fun of like down here if it's raining really, really bad. I have glasses that are yellow because it takes the glare off.
Sure.
Everyone gets in the work truck and they're like, "What are those for?" And I was like, "It starts raining bad, you get the glare."
Glares.
Yeah. Put them things on, and it's truck going up the road.
I remember one time we were going to race, me, Randy, and Richard Akart. We were going up to a race in Michigan up to Flint, and I was driving, and we hit this snow band. I'm going 20 mile an hour, and Randy's yelling at me to slow down. Slow this son of a bitch down, you're going to crash. I'm like, we're cool. I can't see nothing. So I reached over and turned the headlights off. He's like, what are you doing? I said, well, can't you see better? So he's like, wow, yeah, you can. So we get to a rest area, and I remember getting out, and the headlight buckets were, if they were 3 inches deep, they were just packed full of snow. Like, I didn't even have to turn the headlights off. They would have soon just shut themselves off because they were snow. But yeah, he talked about that for years. How I thought he was crazy, but yeah, you could see better with the headlights off.
Yeah.
So
So Ron, I got a question about. I know we've discussed this before. I just want to get back to slot cars.
Sure.
Everyone was like, "What are these guys talking about? Storms for it?" But
every show is something different.
Yeah, I know. So the Midwest Slot Car Series, the one that you're kind of putting together, you got a page for that on Facebook? Because I haven't found it.
Yes, it's called Midwest Slot Car Series.
All right, maybe I don't know. Maybe I found it, but do you have your full schedule posted?
Full schedule's up there, yeah. And I think I'd sent that to you anyway.
Well, you did in messages, but I want to make guys aware of it that it's going on.
Okay.
It's almost difficult because I got the Mid-American Hard Body Slot Car page, and I kind of want to start sharing, and then I got the B&E local stuff, and I want to start sharing these thing. And you're doing hard bodies. I want to share that. And then, it's a couple other guys are kind of starting to adopt the hard. So it's kind of hard trying to keep track of everything that's going on.
Because all the tracks that we go to, and it's, right now it's 4 tracks because with Forest closing, we lost the track. So,
that's
So of the 3 of the 4 tracks, there's already a hard body crowd there.
Okay.
So that series is going to be Can-Am, LMP, which is FNRS GTP, but with LMP bodies on it. And then we're going to run pony stocks.
Okay. Well, what kind of rules are they running now?
We're running your
know?
pony stock rules.
Okay. So are there guys out there running these cars right now out there? See, I don't even...
Well, not so much from like say Fort Wayne.
Okay.
If we go to we have the race at Dave's, everyone there has a
right. So that yeah.
So they can join in the fun at the end of the day. Same when we go to Pro Slot. Same when we go to Columbia City Raceway. There's no hard body. There's interest there, but they haven't done anything yet. So
right. Yeah. I know at one point I was looking up these tracks just to see what they were. Well, just curious.
Yeah, Fort Wayne's a king. Fort Wayne's a king. So when we go there, they can cut the power back to 12.5. So to me, the Fort Wayne track is similar to Swiss's. I mean, your car goes around Swiss's good, it should go around Fort Wayne good. And
well, I'm going to tell you, if we end up going to that Detroit motor, if they're running 13 volts or 13.5, I think that they'd be fine. So honestly, the pony stock cars are a little lighter. They handle a little better. So
we went with pony stock, so that way if a guy had a super stock car, he can
change the body or whatever.
We'll just do one class and
baby steps. You don't do everything all at once. So
and we'll see what happens. So
all
right.
Cool.
Well, I think it's time to close this episode, number 57. I'd like to thank Brian for coming on.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yep.
Sorry that, if I use my other computer, that's better. My kid's swinging from the chandelier and he's lighting things on fire. So I gotta be.
We've had raccoons. Now we've had this.
That's
part of the show.
So have a safe vacation, safe trip.
Thanks, guys.
Shane, get your floating out or whatever. And
I got my helmet. I dug it out.
And as I always say, if everyone's going racing this weekend, be safe and good luck. And Brian, do you have a secret word for the show?
Yeah. Memorial.
Cool. We'll do Memorial. Right. And then earlier while you were gone, I corrected the Nickelback Silverback.
Yeah, I'll forgive you. The funny thing about that, I didn't watch it yet. I got up earlier the next morning. I'm watching it, and I'm checking my messages, and guys are like, "What's this Nickelback? Are you holding out on me? What's this secret?" I'm like, "What the? It's already out of control, And I'm like, "All right, what happened?" So
because I see Brian on Friday, he goes, "Chassis Silverback." I said,
it's an easy.
I know I wouldn't. It's just one of those deals. I looked it up, I thought, and I just wrote it down.
Not even worried.
Don't even worry about the nickel color and So.
Right. Nah, don't even worry about it.
Maybe that'll be the next chassis, the Nickelback. You heard it here first, so
that band sucks.
All right, everybody.
Yep.
See you next week, episode 58. Ciao.